Hello and welcome to the Serpent Temple podcast. I am joined by Floyd, my co-host, myself in person, and Callum from Tyrannus.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming all the way from Scotland.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Yeah. It's a pleasure. Do you want to get straight into reading your cards?
Yeah, we can do.
Why don't you give them a shuffle, and while you do, you can tell us what you do in Tyrannus.
So I'm Callum for Tyrannus. I do pretty much everything in Tyrannus. I play guitar. I'm the vocalist as well. I also write pretty much everything with some help from our drummer Alistair. And then I'm also having to do all the big headaches of, management, promotion, networking, driving people about, all that good stuff. So I imagine you've got the exact same, what you call it? You pretty much do the exact same for Lowen. So
minus guitar, and driving. Shem handles that, and he helps a lot with the writing too. He does the majority of the demoing at the moment. So yeah, I totally relate to that.
Yeah.
I think that's why we get on so well. Is you get it, we get it. The hustle.
It's a hard one, especially because now that I'm also doing all of this and seeing results from it, and then looking back at myself from 10 years ago and being like, why wasn't I doing this back then? It was probably easier back then. There was probably less hassle. Now everyone and their mum's doing a black death metal band, so it's it's a case of you don't sit around regretting it. You just go and make it happen. You make it happen, and you're here. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much.
No, thank you. I think it's the longest commute to the podcast we've had so far.
Nice. Yeah. Well, hopefully it's something that gets broken quickly enough by someone else, because this podcast deserves all the attention in the world as far as I'm concerned.
Aww.
So kind.
Yeah.
This is my favourite guest already.
Yeah, I know. It's you could come on every week. Well, we can start.
I don't think you can afford the plane tickets.
Not yet. We'll see what happens when the album comes out.
That'd be great. All right, so why don't you start laying the cards out? We've got the Inquirer here in the middle.
Cool.
Which is you. And you're going to have, I think, 2 cards either side of the Inquirer.
This is face down.
Face down, yeah. We had a guest start revealing straight away the cards.
Someone started spoiling it, right? So then I've got those 2, and then
you got those 2, and then there and there. You could cool little diamond. And then here and here. And then same on the bottom.
I loved the interview with Alistair. Such an old school
he was wonderful.
metalhead guy that just every card that came out, he was like, how can I relate this to heavy metal? It was great.
You want one here.
Cool. Let's see if my arms stretch that far.
Much like a squid.
I know, right?
We can help with the... That was a Tyrannus related comment, by the way. Oh, wow.
Yeah, see, that was the other thing. I think more bands need mascots, and it doesn't matter what it is, just find something, and we ended up with a squid. So
yeah, the new logo looks amazing, by the way.
Yep. Big shout out to Fabian, aka Hagiophobic, especially for that lovely piece as well.
The RABM patch for those just listening.
He was amazing. He actually made 2 logos, because I sent you one of the first draft, and it had loads of eyes on it, and I was like, oh, I love this. It needs to be a bit more readable and symmetrical though. So we'll keep that in the back pocket though. I feel like that's I'm not. I love the logo, but just because it's a good logo, it doesn't mean it always has to. You don't always have to just stick with the same thing.
So. See, because we got given 2 logos by Christoph, right?
Yeah, we did.
And I was always thinking you could always keep one in the back pocket for merch at some point down the line or something.
It's nice to have 2 versions of a logo. Loads of bands do it.
Yeah, just I like it when I see bands that use different logos for different eras or different albums.
Yeah.
Or they adapt it as they go along rather than just being the same thing that they just paste. Death, for example, they evolved their logo with their albums. So
yeah, it's like me and you, Shem, we were having that discussion about the Enslaved logo, weren't we? It was just you preferred the newer one, but I quite like the old one. But it's I tell you what logo I can't stand, because they're never going to watch this podcast, but Blood Incantation, that is not a good logo. I don't like it.
I don't mind it.
That's like, for me, that's like just past the cusp of how unreadable a logo should be.
I like the shape of it.
I think it depends on what you're going for as well. Like I think an overly spiky logo for a band of guys who are like in their 40s and are looking to try and either mellow out or like, we use the word a lot, but evolve the sound is, I feel like you definitely need to have some sort of, I don't know, consistency with what you're putting out, rather than just being like, oh, this is the logo that we made when we were 15, we're going to stick with that forever. Or, we're going to try and make our logo a lot more easily to read and sell because we're trying to sell more albums. Oh, that didn't work. Best to go and just cynically sell the same music to our fans for the next, 15 years now that this is our retirement package.
Or you can find a logo that the Kardashians like the look of, and they'll rep it, and then that's your merch sales through the roof.
Hey, I've always wondered what the correlation between a Kardashian wearing your shirt and how much success it has after. Like, did Exodus really sell that many more shirts after the Kardashians were caught wearing it?
I think some of the members of Exodus were on board. I know Gary Holt's response was to wear that shirt on stage that said "Kill the Kardashians."
Now that, I think, was actually smart marketing, because it was taking that and then making something edgy off it.
Yeah. And
not that I support everyone who decides to make a kind of questionable edgy t-shirt, but I can see where he was going with that.
Yeah. So. But I don't know, it just seems to be, I reckon some t-shirt manufacturer somewhere was just like, you know what, metal shirts look pretty aesthetic. I'm going to market them, like fucking raise the margin by 300%, and then flog them to celebrities.
Whether the bands actually see anything for it, though, it's like, because the amount of bands that have sold everything off them under themselves and are now seeing nothing for it is,
Yeah, if they see nothing from it, the thing is, because that's what I kind of hate about the whole social media influencer kind of thing. There's so many people that think that their exposure is enough compensation. It's just like, that's such a fucking just arrogant viewpoint.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's annoying because that there's like an element of truth to it. That it's like, that is the way to get exposure, is to have these influencers. I'm not shitting on influencers, but I mean, I am in a way. But it's just YouTubers. Fuck YouTubers. Oh, I'm gonna say it.
We're on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
We're YouTubers.
Well, not a specific YouTuber, any specific type of YouTuber that we're hating. Because I've got a good one for you here, but I want to hear yours first.
Okay, well, I'll tell you the YouTubers I do like, and even though it is kind of lazy content, I am obsessed with reaction channels. And I do watch a shit ton of reaction channels. Particularly, I'm gonna give them a shout out, Lost in Vegas, which are two guys from Vegas, and they discovered metal and just been absolutely losing their minds every time they hear something they like. Like, they discovered Gojira and it just blew their minds. I know that you two aren't, Nina and Shem aren't the biggest fans of Gojira.
They're all right.
Yeah, I think they're pretty good.
They're one of those bands that, like, people keep telling me that they're good and I've not listened to them. And now it's like, oh, so many people have told me this now and I don't know if they're going to be able to live up to this much hype.
See, that's kind of me with Iron Maiden, because I've never properly listened to Iron Maiden.
No, Iron Maiden, they're pish.
Yeah, they're shit.
That's just become a recurring theme. All guests just end up shitting on Iron Maiden.
Except Alistair.
Yeah, not Judas Priest out of 10. That's what I put that down as.
No, I love Judas Priest.
Love Judas Priest.
Yeah, they should have been the Iron Maiden. Like, they should have had the same success as Maiden, I think.
Well,
they had a similar amount.
I think they've had a similar enough amount, and they've managed to not disappoint their fans for the most part.
Yeah, and they're not Brexity.
No, not as far as I'm aware.
No, they're not Brexity Tories.
Indeed.
Yeah. Even though I was way too fucking tired to enjoy them at Bloodstock when they headlined.
Oh man!
It being 5 days. You weren't there for the 5 days, were you? Or
no, I was there for the 4 days.
4 days, but I was physically spent by the time they headlined.
I was. Their sound, unfortunately, was not good.
Oh no!
No, it was. I remember listening to it and being like, "Oh no! Like, this sounds so thin." For some reason, Andy Sneap's guitar is way louder than Richie Faulkner's, and I'm going route, and the bass is barely audible. So I'm like, no, is it just me, or is it where I'm sat? Like, so I end up doing like a kind of like a circuit around like the stage, like where I can on the stage, obviously. And and it's just not good. And I've seen in the previous nights I've seen Devin Townsend, who like made me feel like I was in another world. Yeah. Creator managed to absolutely destroy everything, and it was amazing.
Creator was so good. That was one of my favorite headliner sets ever.
Oh, I mean, I've seen Creator once before as well, and like they're just so. I mean, I love them just for like their politics anyway, because they're lovely and actually, you know, not jaded weird metal guys in their 50s, actually still producing relevant content to, you know, the world we live in now. I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, Creator rule. So, and then even like for a day, like the main stage where we were at for quite a few bands, I lost my absolute shit to While She Sleeps, which I know aren't like probably the most popular band this room, because they're kind of slightly cringy metalcore, but I love slightly cringy metalcore. So.
See, I love metalcore, but the thing is, like, I'm all about the first wave, and I was kind of like petered off while like the second wave bands were kind of making it super big, or second, third wave. So I actually don't know the difference between While She Sleeps, Silosis, and then there's another one. Oh, I can't remember what they're called. There's another one I always get the three of them confused with.
I'd say like While She Sleeps is way poppier than Silosis. Silosis are still quite a technically minded band.
Yeah.
Or I'm going by the fact that like my mate Jack like covers them all the time and does all their tabs. So yeah. Shout out for Jack Harris, by the way. What was the original point? I can't remember.
Let's flip a card, I reckon.
Yeah, let's do that.
Pick any card around the Inquirer.
Any at all.
Yeah.
This one.
Ooh, okay. The wheel.
The wheel.
Inverted or maybe just upside down? Let me read this one to you, because that's one of the more...
Is it inverted in regards to the...
It can mean, if it's upside down, it can mean opposite, but it might be upside down because you've placed all the cards that way. So then it's not upside down, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know.
Because of the angle of the deck when you place it down.
I'll let you figure out the interpretation.
You'll probably know when I read it. So, do you have a point?
No. Just no. Oh. I was going to say the Inquirer is facing down.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
So if that's the way the camera's looking at, that card's going to look the right side up.
Uh-huh.
So then that would be upside down.
It would.
So I'm getting into the semantics of what upside down
or
is.
Maybe we're the camera.
That's true. It is from our perspective. So
I mean, yeah, like the Inquirer is upside down to us. So
really,
we don't.
We're
have
in the Matrix.
Well, I'm gonna go by the fact that the Inquirer is facing the camera, therefore the wheel is upside down. So we'll go with that.
Okay, cool. Okay, we'll go inverted. All right. So the water wheel it's a water wheel. It turns in a stream, driving the unseen mill above it, with a strong brick wall shown, whilst golden fish swim among the reeds. This card represents the principle of things endlessly changing, yet forever staying the same. It stands for constancy and persistence, which I feel is pretty good description of how you go about promoting your music and working hard, and the fact that you've got the mill is turning, you've got stuff coming out soon.
Yeah, no, that's a very good way to put it. I mean, I feel like the album that we're about to put out is very much the result of that persistence. I mean, like the story of the album itself is about a wheel turning, the wheel of fate, as it were. So the basic concept of it is that like our everything that like every conscious being produces some sort of energy of themselves, whether that be through their happiness, misery, blah blah blah. And the reason the world is so awful is because there's some giant, horrific beast that feeds on all that and promotes said misery, and not in just this world, but in all other possibilities. And it, eats us alive, spits us back out into something else, and on you go. And then the whole sort of hope within that story is that eventually that wheel can be broken. So
it's very Wheel of Time, but the opposite.
Yeah.
At the same time. Have you read Wheel of Time?
No.
Ah, fair enough. In that case, forget what I said.
No, I don't mind a brief explanation if there's a...
Oh.
What's it about, like 12 books about that?
It's
about
like
that
14, 15 books this thick.
Uh-huh.
in the Wheel of Time, there is a wheel, and that is time, and the wheel weaves threads of time, and that's fate. And like the bad guy wants to break the wheel because then he can destroy everything. So it's kind of the opposite, but it's the same concept, if that makes sense. So I think it's really interesting that you've essentially come up with the Wheel of Time.
I can't say I made it up from scratch. There is unfortunately a lot of my early influence in terms of like fiction that comes from like a lot of video games that I played as a kid, and one of them was a game called Soul Reaver, which kind of talked about again a big this sort of like quotations elder god who relied on its existence being cycling souls into various bodies, and the whole point was to eventually get rid of them so that people's fates could be their own again. So
that's really cool. That's a cool fantasy.
So mine's a bit more, I guess, a bit more built to what we've got these days.
Soul Reaver was such a great franchise. Then 2 games, right? Soul Reaver 1, Soul Reaver 2.
So it was Legacy of Kain. So you had
yeah.
So you had Blood Omen for the PS1 and Soul Reaver for the PS1 and Dreamcast. Soul Reaver 2 for the PS2. Blood Omen 2, which was a bit of a weird. It was meant to be a sequel, but it didn't fit into the canon. And then it ended with Defiance for the PS2 and Xbox 360. And yeah, I played all of them. Loved them.
Yeah, no, they were great games. Having listened to the album, I just want to say it's absolutely fantastic. And the way you've explained the themes and stuff, I kind of got that impression when I was listening to it. I'm not going to give too much away about the album, because of course I know where it hasn't been released, but there is a real sense of hope towards the end, and even like with the inclusion of some clean vocals and stuff to close off the album.
Yeah, it ended up a lot more meticulously planned than most things I do in life. So it was. Yeah, it's just been a massive satisfaction. Like you'll know yourself when you finally get something put all together and you just get to listen to it and you're like, okay, I did it.
It's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank
It's
you.
going to do really well. And we'll definitely, I think I can speak when we'll be covering it on the podcast for sure.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you so much.
And as I said off camera as well, I just want to make the point that I do love your vocals and I love the Blackened Jeff Walker approach.
Yes, the vocals sound huge.
We all share a mutual love for Carcass on this podcast.
Yes.
Or as you would say, carcass.
Oh my God. Why'd you have to mention it on air? I once mispronounced Carcass as Carcass.
Carcass.
Carcass, man.
It was amazing.
Yeah, Carcass have basically been my favourite band since I was like 15. So, and as far as I'm concerned, the only bad album they ever released was the first one, and that wasn't even their fault. So
yeah. Which album was the first one you listened to by them, just out of interest?
I think the first one was probably Heartwork.
Nice.
And then I got really obsessed with Necroticism not long after that. And then kind of grew in a sort of appreciation for the rest of their stuff afterwards. I remember when Surgical Seal came out, being an absolute fanboy, to the point where I went and saw them in Damnation. I think it was 2013. Got to meet the whole band because they did like a wee meet and greet in the back of one of the stages. Sorry, not one of the halls, like where the merch was sold.
Yeah.
And then I spent the entire. In fact, there's a picture on Damnation's Facebook page. It's still of me right up front row. However, I'm never doing that again. I hate being front row for any gig now because it just results in your head getting kicked in.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the worst. I remember being front row for Cannibal Corpse many times to the point where I was just thinking, why the fuck am I doing this? All I'm doing is making sure people don't break their neck when they come over the barrier.
And then Cannibal Corpse also, you get to have the smell.
Yeah, that particular odor that comes with the old school of death metal fans.
Yeah.
No shade, I'm one of them, so I can't talk.
You do look like you at least apply deodorant like once a day though.
You give me way too much credit.
That's fair enough, man. I'm not bulking right now, so.
I feel like I've learned so much in this short period of time. Yeah.
All right, shall I do another one?
Let's do another one. So that was kind of your future, what you're going towards. Why don't we do the past on the other side?
Cool.
If you can reach.
The wheel always comes up in it. I swear, more often than not, we get the wheel.
Oh, so Mother Inverted.
Do you want me to read this one?
Yep.
Okay, I'll read this for you. So a mother is shown seated in a large wicker chair with her children close to her, the baby tied to her back. It stands for the feminine mothering side in our nature, the part of us that is sustaining and protective, yet at times threatens to smother our individuality.
Yeah, I would say like I've got a very nurturing and empathetic. Well, actually, it's very much me. Like that's what I do. Like I try and take care of people that I feel like are part of mine, as it were. That has caused me in the past to end up making some really, maybe not stupid, but like long-term bad decisions, like staying in relationships too long because I feel like that person can't be like they can't do without me, sort of thing. Or even something as simple as like it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm absolutely shattered after a day of working late at work. Oh, someone's gotten drunk and needs to be picked up from wherever. I'll just go do that, it's fine. So yeah, like it's something I'm trying to keep a lot more of a rein on these days, where like trying to do my best of like seeing stuff, like especially people who like post a lot of stuff on social media about what's going on with them, and then trying to be like, is it worth me messaging this person, or do I just leave it to them? Like, does this have to be my problem, type of thing. But yeah, no, it's a good that's actually a good card. That's like in the past, a lot of my like what I felt like oh I needed has caused me to get into situations that I really wanted to get out of but didn't feel like I could. So
That takes a lot of courage to like admit to stuff like that, and I think that's I think something a lot of people, especially I think a lot of us who listen to alternative music, we have like a different way of thinking, a different way of being, and oftentimes we've gone through hardships that can make us into people pleasers. Or people who like put other people's needs ahead of our own because we don't feel like we're good enough or something like that. So it's good to actually like say stuff like that out loud, for sure.
Yeah, no, I fully agreed. I feel like there is like a little bit of I think that when I'm talking about that as well, there's definitely a bit of a little bit of an ego that comes with that as well, because you're thinking like oh, look at how great I am at providing, I can make sure people are having a good time, and and if someone's feeling like crap, then I'll be there to talk it out with them, and spend 6 hours talking about something, and that's got nothing to do with me. Like like I feel like a lot of people definitely need to learn how to give each other space, and that's not just in the negative way, but also like you don't need to be in someone's grill like feeding them positivity all the time.
Yeah. Give some to yourself.
Exactly.
We are our own mothers at the end of the day too.
It's a bit of a chicken and egg one, isn't it? Because when you help someone, you think you get endorphins from the kind of like the act of helping them. But then you think to yourself, am I helping someone because I want those endorphins for myself, or do I genuinely like want to help them for their own betterment?
The whole altruism fallacy of like, is anyone truly altruistic type of thing?
Yeah.
I think there's honestly a bit of both. I feel like sometimes it is a case of like what you're saying is like, oh, it makes me feel good to be good to others, so that's what I'm going to do it. But there is also that whole empathetic duty, I think, that we all have to others as well, where you might be like whenever I thought about things to myself, because I'm one that always like sort of imagines like worse scenarios or dumb stuff where it's like, oh, how would I react in this? Even if someone that I truly did not like was in a bad situation, but I was there to possibly help them, I would, because that's just not like, I'd feel guilty otherwise.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Shall I do another one?
Go for it.
Can I just say, before when Mother got pulled, sorry to counteract this serious discussion, was something that cracked me up the other day. So I was listening to Danzig, Mother.
Good song.
It was a great song in the living room the other day, and Amy, my partner, sorry for mentioning this, but she got triggered by Danzig's vocals.
What? How come?
She hated his vocals so much. He sounds like he's in so much genuine discomfort and pain when he's singing that she asked me to turn off the song.
He's just an Elvis impersonator. That's what Danzig is to me. Like, and that's why I kind of like him. It's the fact that it's like like, oh, who was like arguably the most famous and successful rock singer? Elvis. I'll just do that.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like when it was a similar thing for me was when the penny dropped. I wasn't always a big AC/DC fan because I was turned off by Brian Johnson's vocals.
Yeah.
But then my partner Caitlin put me onto the Bon Scott era, particularly the song "Let There Be Rock." As soon as I heard that, I was like, "Oh my god, Dave Mustaine, you deserve to be like you need to give all of your money to Bon Scott's family because you've just been impersonating him this entire time badly."
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's true. Especially live, Mustaine's vocals do kind of suffer a bit, don't they?
That's a really nice way to put it, Floyd.
Yeah.
An actual way to put it is that they are gone. It's like someone's gone and like ripped his throat out and put a bloody carton of cigarettes, and they're empty. So that's what Dave Mustaine's vocals sound like live. As far as like again, they were one of those bands that I really liked for a long time. In fact, no, I loved Megadeth for a long time, and they probably still are an influence on me. I mean, I did a cover of The Conjuring from the first EP. By the way, anyone listening or watching this, don't listen to our first EP. It's garbage. It's nothing to do with the way it was produced or anything. It's just that we wrote it in 6 weeks and then thought, that'll be fine. Just don't listen to music that's like that.
I thought there's some really good bits on it.
I mean, there are bits and pieces that I'll redo at some point, but
Demon Under Clay, the intro for that is really good.
Yeah, that's a cool drum. Like it was literally Alistair coming up with like a drum line, and I'm like, can I have that, please? It's like because like when we first got together, he was like, oh yeah, I've been working on some cool drum lines. I've got this. It's like the like with the toms, and I was like, can I steal that? So. But no, like there are bits and pieces that are good on it, and the artwork is really nice. And Lawrence O'Brien, shout out, is like he's the best part of that as far as I'm concerned. But the rest of it is like we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't think the band was going to be anything other than an EP. So, and the vocals.
Don't do yourself dirty like that.
Oh, I will. Right, present. Go and tell me what this is. All right.
The Fool.
The Fool.
Everyone gets The Fool.
Cool.
Don't worry about it. I'll read you The Fool. Is that number 12? 32. God, my eyes have gone faster than Dave Mustaine's voice. So, number 32, we have The Fool. Piping merrily along the cliff top away from his house perched perilously on the edge, the fool dances along, skipping over the roots of the tree. This character can stand for folly and stupidity of the sort that brings so many ventures to ruin in oneself and in other people. It can also symbolize the holy fool, the person who can tell us truths of a sort which a wise man cannot. There can also be the sense of someone playing their own tune through life.
Probably think all three kind of apply to me. Being that like as a sort of teenager growing up in the scene, you end up doing a bunch of stupid stuff that you learn not to do again. The marching to your own tune, that's definitely something that I think that I do, and I've tried to put into the music of Tyrannus as much as I can. And what was the second meaning? Sorry.
The holy fool, people who can tell us truths that a wise man cannot.
Yeah, I've been told that I come out with some lines that don't like one that I said to someone recently was it's fate, don't fuck with it, which is when that was in regards to like, you know, when you finally get with someone, even though it's like long distance or whatever, if it feels right, just go with it. So
nice.
Yeah, no, there's I think that does apply quite well, and it's you don't really grow out of that. It's just a case of you just learn not to make the same mistake twice. So it's yeah.
It's a musician's card for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't think I've ever met someone, particularly in the metal scene, who didn't fuck up once. So, and I'd be very concerned if someone was trying to convince me that they were. It's like, oh, you're probably a nonce then.
Yeah, I feel like the function of the fool in like courts was to actually they could say what everyone else couldn't say because they were in that position. And I think it's the same if you're an artist. You're allowed to say things in your own way that no one else can say.
Yeah.
And point out certain things in ways that people may not realize until you say it the way only you can.
That's fair. Let's go for another present card. I'll go the one closest to Floyd.
When you said, "Oh, you never make the same mistake twice," I was like, "Oh well, that doesn't apply to me. I made the same mistake numerous times. I don't learn."
I make mistakes on a regular basis. Prison. Oh man. Okay. 37. Let me read this one to you as well. So. A manacled prisoner languishes behind bars, but the sunlight floods through into the cell. This card stands for those situations where we are seemingly trapped, where the key is turned on us and we have no freedom of action.
That was probably... That's capitalism.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
Fuck capitalism.
Yeah, that is capitalism. That's pretty much a case. Yeah, it's literally we don't get a choice in it. We don't get to. We just have to make the best of it whilst wishing for something much better that is not coming. Not to say now that's a really pessimistic view. I do not consider myself a pessimistic person, but considering like what I constantly see in regards to either inaction or lack of care by the people that we are supposed to trust with getting us into the next stage of the future. I'm very much a pessimist there. Particularly like to put it to like a UK politics type of thing, we're making the same mistake as was in the 90s with Labour, where we are electing people who are like we are being led in terms of Labour by people who are only interested in power. They don't have any like qualms about purging a party that was founded by trade unionists off its trade union support, off its left wing, etc. Fuck Keir Starmer, etc.
Keir Starmer is just a definite wolf in sheep's clothing, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean,
At the end of the day, he's a sir. He's part of the establishment, more so than Boris Johnson in some aspects.
Yeah.
So
He's more slimy. You can tell he's got like shit up his sleeve, literally.
I think the thing for me is the way he has carefully only ever prodded where it is considered quite easy for when it comes to playing an opposition. He never asks hard questions. It's always his backbench support that does stuff or that makes questions that should be thought about, but he himself has got no substance to him at all. Especially the way he backstabbed the likes of Corbyn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm personally hoping that Scotland becomes independent and we can all just go live in Scotland.
I am quite happy, like, if we can have Scotland go independent, and then independence for the north of England going from Carlisle to Sheffield, and then we can all just like have a big party.
Would you rejoin the EU and then we can just go live in France via Scotland? That'd be
Exactly.
nice. Yeah.
You know, that would work.
That would be really nice.
Yeah.
Let's have like a little ferry that goes across like.
You know what? We'll even give Cornwall and Devon their independence as well.
Oh, that'd be lovely.
On you go.
Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah.
Which is just annex most of like southern and south and southeast England, and then just like cut it out, send it somewhere else.
send it floating across the waters.
Exactly, like that. There's that Looney Tunes episode, Rebel Rabbit, where Bugs Bunny saws away Florida. You can do this. Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything about that.
Oh, we'll get to that. Don't worry.
Nice.
Shall we do another one?
Can I just say quickly, I bumped into Keir Starmer once. He was jogging. I'm not going to say where because I don't want to dox him, but he's much shorter than you expect.
Oh, how short?
He's like a good maybe like 3 inches shorter than me, I would say. And he has that thing where when he was jogging, he would quickly glance at everyone in the eyes to make sure that no one was going to attack him. I think he just had that perpetual fear about him. It was I only clocked him maybe like 2 seconds after he ran past me, but I think that was Keir Starmer.
You could have easily like Goldberg speared him as well. Give him a concussion, put him out of action. Class hero.
Well, if it was a Goldberg spear, I would have missed, hit the turnbuckle, and concussed myself.
True. Well, maybe more like a Roman Reigns spear.
That's true.
He's got a good spear as well. I like Roman Reigns.
He does have a good spear. I tell you who had the best spear though, Rhino.
Because it wasn't a spear, it was a gore.
It was the gore.
Yeah.
Talking about wrestling.
Sorry, I am unfortunately a wrestling fan for my sins.
That is not unfortunate at all. You're in the right
Speaking
place.
of wrestling, did you see who debuted in AEW this week?
Keith Lee.
Keith Lee.
Yeah, man's finally getting what's due to him.
Yeah, I showed you that clip of Keith Lee, didn't I?
It was amazing.
Yes.
He gave a Beal toss to poor Isaiah Cassidy and sent him about 20 feet. Yeah.
Let's turn over another card.
We've got 2 left in the present, possible 1 each on past and future, so we'll go with that.
Oh, this is inverted. Friendship.
Hey.
All right. Do you want me to read this one?
Yep.
Okay.
Unless this is the one that's not inverted. Whatever.
We'll find out. So, friendship. 3 comrades, I like the use of language there, are seen drinking in a tavern with a hint of a 4th about to join them. Wines and spirits in barrels in the background and an exotic bird. The atmosphere is cheerful and the beer is flowing. The card shows that aspect of life that centers around friends, comradeship and sociability. It stands for parties and togetherness.
I mean, I've kind of like dunked you guys into like having a party later on today. Probably says a lot about that. Very sorry about that.
So good.
But yeah, friendship is incredibly important to me. Like I very much go out my way to make people feel included and like they are important to me. One of the things that I love doing is having people around so I can cook for them, because I feel like there's that whole evolutionary monkey brain thing of like when you eat together it brings you closer, that kind of thing. And I would say that on a slight maybe I would say that is like friendship is incredibly important to me, and that has been taken advantage of sometimes in the past. So it's taken a lot for me to be able to make sure that I'm always in a healthy sort of relationship with people. It's not where I'm not being exploited and I don't feel like I'm taking advantage of others either. That is pretty much it. And also, I don't know if I'm hoping this is not the case with anyone that ever has to do this, but I really hope that like whenever anyone's in a band together, they are friends. It's not just about some guys coming together for the sake of like, oh, we're going to go and make some music and then not talk to each other. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like music's always going to be elevated once there's an actual, to coin an American term, synergy between band members. God, I hate that word.
Do you remember the
So
Simpsons episode
corporate.
about that word?
No, I've never seen it, no. Of course, Simpsons have done it before I've fucking done it.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's fine. But but there is like when that synergy is, you even have to say it in an American accent. That like I think it just then kind of lends to the cohesiveness of the musical output.
Definitely. Like I get to play music with 3 of my best friends, and that rules. Like I wouldn't have been able to make Tyrannus without Alistair. Like, and he's not only been a guiding light for me in regards to just music. Like where he's a very good at like critiquing what I write and being like, hey, this is great, this is great, this is not great, we need to do something better. On the song Worst Reality, which is the second one, there's a part that like you got the solos sort of in the middle of the song, and then that was basically where it was going to end, but then we both listened to it, and then it was a case of nope, it's not finished, you need to do more. And that was at pre-production, so that was when we were like on the way to making this happen. But not just that, like the other thing that I can quite rightly thank him for, and kind of feel like I owe him a life debt at this point, is the fact that he dragged me out of the abyss when, you know, there was a point in my life where I would say that I was very close, if not in denial, about being sort of entrenched in alt-right beliefs. and he was the one that pulled me out and be like, look, you need to really be thinking about what you're saying, what you're actually believing. Does this actually ring true to how you're living your life? And then after, a few times of meeting him and discussing what was going on in my head, it was kind of like a case of, oh shit, like this, why am I like this? Why am I doing this? And yeah, he made me the frothing at the mouth comrade that you've got now. So
I had no idea about that.
I've been through a lot of stupid stuff in my life, which have resulted in, I've been the result of mistakes and good intentions gone, either being taken advantage of or being led down because I'm angry at the world, but I don't know where that anger's supposed to go. And then there are many forces and organizations that are all too willing to take that anger that's impotent and going nowhere and place it into their nefarious means. I wouldn't say like, and then nowadays I try and do the exact same thing he did, where it's like, if I'm seeing someone that's like within sort of my vicinity who I feel like is a risk in that regard, I'll try and make my way to be like, look, are you sure this is what you believe, or are you just angry?
Yeah.
And that type of thing. Because because all it does is hollow you out inside. So, and that's why friendship is important, because it's up to us to keep everyone else around us safe. And that's socialism, literally in one sentence.
That's awesome. I'm really glad that you well, I'm not glad you had the experience.
No.
But I'm glad that you've learned from it and it's become a positive thing now. The
most I can say is that thankfully I never hurt anyone with those beliefs, because they were always kept private to me and shared with like the people I felt like I trusted. There was never actions behind them, but it was like, looking back on it, it's worrying like that can happen, and you think you're not aware that there's something wrong with us, you know. So, but then that's what happens when you've got a madman in the White House with his influence across the world. So,
yeah.
I think therein lies the problem as well. There's always going to be echo chambers that are going to back up what you're thinking, no matter what the beliefs are.
I think what people underestimate is how much of an echo chamber is built by the outside. Like, it's not just a case if you start like, because we as leftists also have an echo chamber. That's undeniable, but it's not just a case of we are you're saying, capitalism is bad, and suddenly everyone else agrees with you. You seek out people who are resonating with that as well. You're not actively looking for confrontation. I am not going to go out my way to go and speak to a Tory, you know. But yeah, I think just having that self-consciousness to be able to like rebuild, and having the people around you to support that, is the most important thing possible. That got really deep, didn't it, fellas?
Yeah. Fellas, is it socialist if we're friends?
So you mentioned, Alistair, also an Ashen Spire.
Yes.
And then Fraser Gordon, also an Ashen Spire.
Yes, so I accidentally poached Fraser from Ashen Spire. They were very much about, I think they had originally given me the offer of like, hey, if you need a second guitar player once you start playing live, I'm up for it. And then the first day that we had them in the practice room, I was like, oh God, you're amazing, please stay. and just so happens that they're like, yeah, I would like to stay.
Aww.
So
that's good.
And then, so we've got them, and then Alistair Harley. This is where it starts getting tricky, because you've got two people named Alistair with slightly different spellings.
Is it Alastair and Alistair?
Well, I think we're calling Alistair Harley Ali, and Alistair is just Alistair. But I've known Ali 10 years now. I think 10 years. We met in a comic shop, and both just happen to have plenty of love for comics and music, and he, like, Tyrannus is his first band, but he's stepped up to the plate like no one else. Like, I've never seen someone so enthusiastic about their first band, and it's really cool. And he's very good when it comes to our on-stage presence, because he's the one like moving about lots, and he's got wireless units, so he likes to dunk about the crowd, like when he's playing at takeoff when it comes to the bass line. So
Cool.
The live clips looked amazing, by the way. It
Yeah.
looks so cool. Yeah.
oh, thank you. We're trying to. I played in crust punk bands for long enough, so it's trying to keep that energy where it's like. I remember like on one of I think it was like the Last Sun, where my guitar strap fell off, and all I did was just like, oh, that's fine. I can just go and get a water, come back, and then start the song again whilst Fraser's playing the clean guitar lines.
Yeah.
And everyone loved it. So it's just like about making the best of the mistakes that you make on stage. So
Yeah. It's just that punk rock aesthetic is just so important in live music, I think,
so
isn't it?
important, yeah.
Because it's just like so many times I feel like in the black metal scene especially, you get bands with, I would say, zero stage presence. And
Yes.
and I know sometimes it's about the mystique of the band and deliberately being as disconnected from the music as much as possible. But that's just not what I enjoy. I just like going to shows with high energy.
Watching Lowen at Bloodstock was like that for me as well. Was like you managed to have both a punk rock energy and like almost like an esoteric aesthetic at the same time, and that was just like, yes, this is what I love.
My head's going to explode because my ego is just going to come out of my eyeballs and my nose holes. It's just too much. Thank you.
Especially being right next to Shem's amp as well. Just
Yes.
like, yes, this is what I've needed all festival.
It's a great stage. I think the Jägermeister stage is kind of what do you call it? Kind of underappreciated. Like there's some good acts there.
As far as I'm concerned, so one of the things that I really, really despise, and I hope I'm okay to say this live, but the whole Metal to the Masses thing makes my eyes bleed. With particularly because the New Blood stage is also just terrible. That is not a stage that anyone should be aiming for. You should not be looking to win a competition and to get on a stage that sounds like cack, and nobody's going to remember you anyway. No offense to the friends that I have that have played it, by the way, but saws.
Yeah.
But whereas you guys, you guys really worked hard, got onto a good sounding stage, a good looking stage, and it was, and at the end of the day, like I imagine, like when I think of your guys' music, yes, it probably works better in a claustrophobic and crowded, small, dark venue. However, the fact that you guys can play that in an open venue with just a canopy, a canvas top in the middle of daylight, after Paradise Lost have been playing, and make them look like chumps. Not sorry. They're that is what good music is. It doesn't matter what setting it's in. It can just go and look good and sound good and feel good regardless of setting. You're probably gonna have to get rid of all that sauce.
No, we'll keep it. We'll keep it. Seeing as it's all very nice things about us.
Nina hates compliments.
Can you see how uncomfortable I am? I'm sort of just like squirming.
It's like, can you get any more tucked into that?
Can you tell I'm a performer? It's really nice, but I just don't know what to do with my entire existence when people say nice things. So thank you. I appreciate it. I'll just try and not be shit at nice things.
Cards.
Next card. What would you like to turn over?
Let's do a river of past, present, future.
So we just turned over the message. I'll read the intro for the car. We have a card. The message, lying on the deck, drawn up from the ocean depths among the fisherman's catch, very Tyrannus related, lies a bottle containing a message. This card symbolizes the promise of a message, whether it comes by letter, telephone, from a friend, or there again, it may come from our own inner depths. The card warns us to be prepared and receptive to the message of its tidings of important news.
I think that relates back to my earlier point about Alistair kind of keeping me right and just encouraging me to listen to not just him but myself. I think especially as I've gotten a bit older, I've been a lot more contemplative about who I am, what I say, what even how I say it. Yeah, like you have to listen to not just others but yourself. Like if something doesn't inherently feel right, then you don't do it. Like we've at this point, Tyrannus hasn't been offered anything that I would say that would kind of clashes with our beliefs. We've been quite lucky so far that the cassettes, for example, that we got made have been by people that we were quite happy to be associated with. The record label that we're with is True Cult Records, who are affiliated with the Antifascist Black Metal Network. That's huge for us. Even just at the point where I started describing myself as an anti-fascist, that took a lot. That was a lot of like sort of listening to others and listening to myself. Like, okay, like what is this? Because kind of going on a slight tangent, I very much believe anti-fascism is the default for most people. It's just that we've been convinced it's not. Like how is anti-fascism a radical idea? Why?
Right. Why is not liking racism so controversial?
Exactly. Like, and it's really, really strange to me when the subject of right versus left wing politics gets brought up to bands who are sketchy, and I hope there are people who know who they are. But then they decide to try and write 500 paragraphs that dodge the question.
Yeah.
It's the default. Like, nobody wants to be ruled by a fascist. Nobody wants to watch others be oppressed by fascism. So why is anti-fascism, like, why have we been convinced that it's some radical term? It's not. Like, if anything, anti-fascism should realistically be considered like normalized. So
it should be baseline humanity.
Exactly. And going into efforts to like to promote that should also just be normal. But instead we've got really weird bands trying to be like, oh, we're about English heritage, Scottish heritage, and that's considered normal. That's considered like fine. No, listen to yourself. Listen to your heart. You know this is wrong. Don't go like just stick with the plan. We don't want people getting hurt. We don't want people living lives where they're wishing that much better could be for them, or that that they weren't being subjected to someone else's will. So that's kind of where my thinking was when I started kind of really considering Tyrannus as an anti-fascist band, and it was from listening to myself and listening to others and how that kind of what our perception was from there. But going back to what I was originally talking about in terms of the opportunities we've been offered, I feel like if something as controversial here, if Bloodstock asked us to play, I don't know if we would play it based on what we've learned recently, because I don't want to be part of that circus of tokenizing various diverse bands but then behind closed doors the organisers are massive pieces of shit. So until like something like that changes, where we can see for certain that's not the case anymore, I don't like there will be stuff that we turn down soon. I'm hopefully, I could just be bigging myself up here and being like, people are going to be mad for us, but no, we're going to be really discerning in what we choose to do from this point onward.
I think you've made a lot of astute points there, and I feel like that's so important to like the art that you create. Have you got any sort of potential festivals or gigs or like dream lineups in mind that you'd love to play with?
So the only things I'm really concerned about and like that I want to play with, I want to play some shows with Hellripper, because that's he's my lad. I want to play some more shows with Devastator, which we're booking them up there. And in terms of like big stuff, the only big plans I've got is somehow getting Tyrannus to other parts of the world, like Japan, Australia, Italy, maybe even Brazil. Like there's a big anti-fascist scene there. somehow getting that, and maybe one day supporting Carcass. That would be, but I feel like our goals are a lot different to others. People see like like certain bands will, in fact, no, most bands who haven't got really a direction will just look at the usual. Okay, if I play some shows, I'll eventually get some support slots, and then from there I'll be able to make friends with someone in Vader who'll then take me on tour in Europe, and then we'll just do that. Like they look at it like a Guitar Hero campaign,
Yeah.
And that's just not it. Like I'm at the end of the day, I have to, like, not just me but my bandmates, we all have to balance life as normal with this. So really, I want Tyrannus and what it brings across to be successful, but not at the expense of anyone involved in it. I don't want anyone having to be like losing a job or having to eat less because of it.
Yeah.
Also, Tyrannus sucks. So.
It's not the 80s anymore either. It's not like there's these revenue streams that are as available to bands these days. Like, it's fucking tough. I remember reading one year, like, this was maybe like 4 years ago, Devin Townsend says that after everything, he takes home about 60,000 Canadian dollars a year. I'm thinking, that's Devin Townsend.
And that's Canadian dollars as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's about like 40 grand. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actual money. This is where I get to plug Creative Scotland, though, because they funded our album.
Oh, amazing.
So, have I told you about this yet? I don't know.
No.
Okay, right. So, in Scotland, we get to operate under social democracy. It's really nice. Not perfect, but we do like it. And there's quite a lot of sort of creative arts funds which you can apply for. And one of them is the individual open fund, which is actually run in partnership with the National Lottery. So basically what happens is the National Lottery provides funds to the Scottish Government, who then put it out into grants, and you can apply for those grants to fund your art project. In this case, we applied for it for our album. So we got we've got full recording at LeChunky Studios in Glasgow with Scott McLean, funded. We didn't have to pay a single penny to that, and it's also going towards part of the promotion as well, which is including a music video with Callum McMillan.
Okay.
That is a better deal than any band in the 80s ever got, because we're not having to give them anything back. We're not paying it back in these weird like layaway installments. We're not having to give them our publishing, anything. It's a case of, we told them, this is the album we want to make. This is what it's about. This is who's involved. This is how long it's going to get taken to get done. And Jamie Houston, who was one of the heads of Creative Scotland, he made the decision to grant us that money, and we were able to record an album without having to go into debt, which we were obviously prepared to do, so because you're going to want to get this done no matter what. But Creative Scotland made that happen, and I love that. I also want as many of my friends and as many people who want that to be able to do that. Like that is so symbolic of what I want for everyone. Anyone who wants it should be able to just make art and be able to not have to worry about putting food on the table the next day.
Yeah.
So if anyone watching or listening to this wants some advice in regards to applying and it lives in Scotland, please do, because I will happily either forward you on to Jamie Houston or get you speak or help you with the applications, anything like that. And that's why you should move to Scotland.
All right, let's go. Yeah. Would you mind helping us move to Scotland?
I could be like the translator. So just don't move to Aberdeen, because you'll really struggle with the accent there. But
I think they'll struggle with us being there too.
Just watch enough Lemmy videos and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I do love Scottish accents, to be fair. I think they're great.
I was actually, without delving into too much detail, a Lemmy video helped perfectly describe some of the dramas at work at the moment. It was the steel versus feathers one.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's certain people in the company I work for that don't understand basic maths. and it tears my brain out. But have you ever seen the Steel vs. Feathers clip? Oh, I love it. It's so good.
Also, to dispel a meme that's currently going around that he's helped circulate as a joke. Purple burglar alarm.
Very good.
Nice, you can say it.
It's because
Amazing.
it's West Coast Scottish people that can't say it. It's because of the Irish influence on that accent, whereas for whatever reason us East Coasters can do it no problem.
Fascinating.
Yeah, my mum also said it without a problem as well. So, yeah.
Whereabouts is it your family's from?
Dundee.
That's why they're East Coast.
Yeah.
That's where most of my family's from too.
Yeah, it's just I love learning all the Dundee kind of like vernacular and slang. Do you ever know the word balfin?
Balfin.
Yeah. So if someone smells bad, they're balfin. Yeah.
Balfin.
The term I try and use in my day-to-day life.
Nice.
But yeah, that was a good one.
I learned a word. Hope that's on a Wordle soon.
That was quite an impactful card.
Yeah, it's a very artistic one. Do you want to go for the present?
Present, yep.
That was like very Korn-esque. I thought we were going to start scatting. So you've turned over
The Stranger.
So that is number 30. I shall read The Stranger to you. In shadow, making an entrance in a doorway, stands a character whose sex is ambivalent. The stranger perhaps symbolizes that part of our nature that we've shut out, that is now entering in a surprising way. It is the equivalent to the anima or animus, the excluded part of our psyche that is the opposite sex to our own. It can also stand for any person we have underrated or neglected, who could prove themselves a force in our lives. Represented here is also the caution and apprehension that we feel towards the new people in our lives initially.
That's a hard one, actually. Again, because talking about before, where I'm trying to always be a lot more conscious. When you become more conscious of yourself and how you work, you are bringing in more parts of what you've probably shut out or tried to keep hidden. On the other note, though, like this could relate to either making new friends. Or reconnecting with old people, older friends, people that have come, that have been in my life before and have come back or whatever. I'm not sure how to take that card. How do most people normally take that?
Everyone takes it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't remember the stranger coming up too many times.
It's a rare one. I think it's people you can meet at shows, people who will be discovering your music, how that will impact you and how you will be reacting to that.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot more since we started working on this album. There's been a lot more people involved in it, which has been really cool. There's especially in terms of promotion. Shout out to Saeidi of Kabar PR, who has really done a lot of good work for us so far in regards to just getting our name out there on the back of a demo that was written, recorded, and at home and released. Because again, out of anxiety, because I'm like, it's 2021, and we're still on the back of this EP that I don't like. So
Can relate.
yeah, yeah, probably more so. Yeah, no, I'm not totally sure how to take that. I think in terms of me in terms of like inner stranger, I think I've never known myself more than before. I would say that, but what aspects have come to light more recently, can't say for certain. Yeah.
That is an introspective one. Well placed next to prison, because that is another psychological card.
Ah.
Indeed. Do you want to go for...
We'll go for that.
The middle of your future?
That wasn't the message was much more dramatic than the stranger.
No!
Oh,
know it now. We all know now.
Oh, now.
Okay. No, now. So number 3, I will read no. These tend to stump people, these ones, because they're like the question answer cards. No. Hold back. A red light. A standstill and negative card. The end.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
That's all it says.
So, no in regards to future.
There may be things you have to say no to.
Well, actually, yeah, it really just goes back to the point we made earlier on, is the fact that there are going to be things that we have to say no to, just sheerly out of principle. Some of that can even be like with my accidental, my accidental reputation as a promoter, where I'm not going to book bands that I don't like. I'm not going to book bands that I definitely disagree with. I'm not going to play shows with bands that we disagree with. That type of thing. And the shows that I do book, I'm probably going to have to keep kicking people out because they're not welcome. That's pretty much. And I think because going back to the mother card, where I had a horrible time saying no back then, I think part of what that's telling us there is that I have to be saying no from here on.
So it's reinforcing that.
Reinforcing that, yeah.
And sometimes you have to say no to nurture yourself.
Oh,
that's
definitely.
What you need to grow.
There's, I absolutely despise toxic positivity. It's unhealthy. It's really cultural gaslighting more than anything else. But yeah, just say no, kids. Just say no to bad strangers.
Say no to grow.
Yeah.
All right, shall we see what was driving you forward in the past?
This one?
That's the one.
Cool.
The beauty.
I know what this one is.
Microphone down. I'm so sorry about our very DIY setup.
That's punk as fuck. I've got it, don't worry.
Thank you so much. I'm clearly technically very proficient when it comes to...
You can tell I've had to deal with mic stands in the past.
That is honestly the amount of times I've been kicked in the teeth by a microphone. 37.
Yeah, go and read it out, but since we read out all the others, I already know what this is.
Or who this is.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no, I read the number wrong. It's 27, not
27.
37. My eyes. What is wrong with my eyes?
Taking you Specsavers soon.
So, please. This card, I must say, this booklet was written, I think, in like the 70s, so it's sexist.
Oh, great.
And there's you're gonna hear the sexism in approximately 30 seconds. All right. A beautiful woman in a fine Tudor-style gown is seen looking at her reflection in a mullioned window, as if she is waiting to make her entrance and checking her appearance. The character stands for the element of passion and romantic love. For men, it can mean a love affair of the sort that inspires great art. For women, it can point to a flowering of the awareness of her sexuality or the presence of a rival in love. The card can have implications of danger, and one aspect of the face of beauty can be a demanding whore.
We're going to ignore that last part.
Yep.
This card is very much about my partner, Callum, who you two know very well. We've known each other over a decade and very much infatuated with each other for as long as that, though. It was so many opportunities were kind of missed because of life. But, pandemic happens, it kind of puts a lot of things into perspective. And we made it happen. She moved 400 miles to be with me, which is probably the biggest compliment you could ever pay someone. So I can't say properly ever, and I do tell her this every day of how much I love her. And not only that, but she is a driving force for me. She is my conscience. Like, she's very good at anytime I'm questioning stuff, do anything in my life, whether that not just in music, but decisions and situations with people, I always ask her, and she, 9 times out of 10 will give me the right advice and what I need to either hear or encourage me to do the thing that feels like it's the hardest thing of all. But to go into the music thing, I don't know if you guys have noticed this. I don't know if I sent you the credits for the album, but she's on the demo. She's credited as a producer, and then the album she will be credited as a producer as well.
Amazing.
Because this is one thing I kind of came to me at one point was you're always going to ask your partner about what they think about your art. Okay, it's just what you do now. You and Shem are in a really good position because you're in the band together. So that's a working artistic relationship. It's at the end of the day, both you're going to get credit no matter what. One thing that really annoys me though is when guys are like dragging their partners into whatever artistic thing that they're doing and then don't give them credit. Like if if you're with someone and you're saying, "Hey, can you listen to my song?" and if they say anything more than, "Oh, that's nice," you need to give them credit. So for example, on the song "It Taketh," which you guys have heard the full album version of, but there is a demo version of it as well. After the first chorus, there's a break of the 4 beats. That was Caitlin. And in the song Worse Reality, the solo in the middle has a build-up. Caitlin literally sang that to me, saying that's what she was hearing. Because originally
that's so cool.
That wasn't part of it. And then and I was like, oh my god, that sounds amazing. And then just in general, it comes to me like either mixing or choosing tones, anything, I will be asking her, what do you think? 'Cause she's got an amazing mind for music and in particular metal and how people may react to this. And this is why she's such a huge, she's so good when it comes to social media. It's why she's successful on Twitch. She's just gotten to the point of being able to monetize TikTok, and she's had a long career either on Tumblr or cosplay, Instagram. She had nearly 40k followers at one point. So this girl knows what she's doing. She is the most talented person I've ever met, as far as I'm concerned, and I love her dearly. But not just from looking at her as a beauty card, and it's sexist tropes may say, but every day I try and learn something from her, and I don't. Like, Tyrannus's success is very much as a result of her influence on us. So yeah, I hope you don't mind me gushing about my partner for 10 minutes there.
It's lovely. we both know Kate. We all know Kate. She is genuinely a beautiful, wonderful person. We all love her.
How's she coping with the East Coast winds and weather?
She's doing all right with it. I think she enjoys the fresh air a lot. Yeah. And she's never felt like a decision has ever felt so right in her life, which I'm so happy for. Because like you know for a fact, if you're moving that far, basically to another country, and just to be with one person, that's a huge gamble. But at the same time, I would have done the exact same for her if that's what it came to. I would have happily moved down to Essex. Thankfully, I didn't have to, because I love my country.
I can't imagine you loving Essex.
Her parents are wonderful people too, and so is the rest of her family. But yeah, I would have. It was a huge thing for her to do that, but the fact that we've managed to make it so successful for her, and it's been so good. Like, I'm so happy that is the case. Like, she's so happy with where she's at with building up her Twitch and being able to do that, and we're building up our life now too. So next stage is going to be the usual of a house, and then from there, all the good stuff.
Okay, cool. I can't wait to see that.
She has done a fantastic job on social media. And I just want to add in, when I was shitting on influencers and social media things earlier, I was talking about like the people you saw in the Fire Festival documentary.
Yes. No, that's the thing. She would never be someone like that. So her social media has always had substance behind it.
Exactly.
So no, I like, even just from like when to post on certain platforms, or what to post and all that. Like, I always learn from her. She'll always tell me what she's going to be doing next, and it's just like, okay, so right, that makes sense. So I have begrudgingly had to take on a TikTok, and will be taking on a Twitter at some point, because unfortunately, like, we do have to follow into these things to make things a lot more successful. You can't just put an album out and hope for the best.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think there is kind of like a science behind social media that isn't kind of like talked about enough. I feel like a lot of people that don't understand it think it is as easy as just posting things, but there's all the analytics and all the technical things.
Yeah.
And like that is a lot of shit to consider.
Yeah, I mean, it's why we even like Tyrannus indulges in color theory, because I used when I was 20, 21, I was in a course for software engineering, and part of it was video game design, and included in that was color theory about how a piece looks, what it's meant to convey, and our we went with like sort of that fuchsia pink because of like it's both really nice and hard in the eyes at the same time, and also like pink and black is anarcho-feminism. I wouldn't call us like anarcho-feminists at all. Just in the fact that we believe in freedom and liberty for all, regardless. So whether that makes us feminists or not, cool. Like, but yeah, like having a set image and theme and something that people remember. I mean, on a similar thing, like we all know, as soon as I say typo negative, you're thinking of that color green right there.
Yeah.
So if you can do the same with for us, is like I hope when people think of Tyrannus, it's like, oh, pink, purple, whatever.
It's quite unique, actually. And you know what? Now that I think about it, whenever I used to make custom wrestlers on the wrestling games, I'd always have them in pink and like purple and black. So I thought it just looks so good together.
It is also a subtle Bret Hart reference. I will.
Oh no, of course.
I did originally want to find a way for us to get like pink shades like his to like give out at shows, but it's really hard to get pink aviators. Or it's certainly expensive to try and get them made. So hopefully we'll be able to do something like that. Something because aviators are cool and pink lenses are cool, and
Yeah, we can all agree on that.
Aye.
Yeah. Shall we see what is
Driving the future.
driving you towards, well, the future you're driving towards? Never.
Never.
Oh God. Okay, we need to shuffle this deck back. 5.
I've had the last 3 cards like no, now, never.
No, never.
This sounds like a song. All right, number 5. Let me read this. A black raven is shown standing upon a skeleton in the snow. A bleak outlook, the possibility of failure, and the denial of fulfillment. Right.
So that is actually it's actually rather poignant for me personally, because I have always had an abject fear of failure, which has driven a lot of short-term decisions. I've just left a job that a company I would say that I did not enjoy working for, but every day that I was in there was thinking I would never get out, and 2 was thinking I would never amount to anything there, despite going from just a temporary guy on night shift to getting a permanent contract and getting enough promotions where I've now been able to make a viable career out of it.
Amazing.
Now I don't like it. I don't like the fact that I have to do this, and that's what I have to do to support me and the family that I want to make. But it is what has to be done, and that word never is something I always push against. Like, you know, I'm never going to amount to anything. I'm never going to make a success out of any of the art that I make. I'm never going to be as good as someone else that's maybe come from the same scene or whatever as me. I'm never gonna make it. Or going back to the past, there were many times in my life that I thought, you know, Caitlin and I would never be able to get together, and I've always pushed against that. So that's probably what I would say is that the word never is my antagonist, but I am a very, very spiteful person. So it's kind of fitting in that regard. I will never submit to never.
Amazing. That's a really good way of interpreting that card. I like it.
Plays back to the full.
It does. It does. You're not allowing yourself to be imprisoned by your fear of failure.
Yeah.
Because no one likes failing. It fucking sucks.
Exactly.
But everyone's gonna fail to certain degrees at certain times, and it seems like, you know, when you've had situations where you weren't being great to yourself, you got yourself out of those situations, and you've done things that you thought were impossible. So that's pretty damn amazing.
I mean, looking at these cards, like, it's funny. Like, obviously, when we're making sort of judgments, like, and we're talking about the prompts and all that, like, what these cards represent. When you actually look at them, they actually relate well to each other. Quite, like, for example, like, we're talking about how we couldn't really figure out the stranger too much.
Yeah.
I actually only just kind of came to mind there that the amount of times I've been a stranger to someone, which has then resulted in friendship, is like, whilst we're we're all in this prison that we don't want. Like, you guys didn't know me before Bloodstock, and now we're like it's some of the like best conversations I've had both online and in this room right now have been the best conversations I've ever had in my life. So thank you all for having me here.
You're more than welcome. It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's just so cool. I just love that. I love that. I didn't know you play Magic the Gathering, and that you have this interesting growth in your past as well. Like, I respect that. I love that. Not the Magic the Gathering thing. The fact that you change throughout your...
I mean, like, you will stop loving that as soon as I like do like an awful like cheap swarm, and you're like, get out of here, man.
I love playing Magic so much. Don't worry.
We should definitely try and get some games at some point.
Yeah, if we'd known, we'd have bought some Commander decks or something in today.
That would have been good.
I was like,
well, this is definitely not. In fact, to quote the thick of it, you will see me again.
Yes, I should hope so. Well, that's brilliant. Do you have any final remarks?
Tyrannus's Unslayable album comes out around about April 22nd. Cards subject to change and all that. And I want to bring Lowen up to Scotland at some point.
Yes, please.
Let's do that. We can even make a weekend out of it. Like, you come up on the Friday, we play a show on the Saturday, and then we go and do something on the Sunday with you.
I'd love that. I want to hang out with Lee as well.
I was going to say, yeah, we've got to meet Lee Lewis.
We've got to meet Lee Lewis.
Lee is like my really big but little brother. he's the sweetest lad I've ever known, and it's just annoying that he lives like a 45-minute drive because I always have to go out and get him. But he's a sweetheart. Like, honestly, he is what I'd call the heart of Scotland's metal scene. So
he's a really sweet guy. We'd love to have him on the podcast as well.
Yeah, I mean, if I can somehow, if we can make that happen, I will do my best to get him down. I mean, I think he's meant to be coming down to London at some point anyway, so we'll try and correlate that.
I'd hope so. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Scotland just sounds lovely and nice and wholesome.
Yeah,
and it's good.
It's not perfect by any means. We still have our fair share of wankers, but I think like there's enough of us that can shout them down at this point. So
I think that's something a lot of promoters here can take as an example. Is like, not just because someone's paying for a ticket doesn't mean that they necessarily should be at the show.
I feel like, well, it's not even a case of that I would let someone buy a ticket at that point, or if it was they would get a refund. I wouldn't be unfair like that. It's just a case of, at the end of the day, I've got an audience that I've got a responsibility to as a promoter. I'm not going to have anything jeopardize that.
Yeah.
So, no Nazis, no Tories, no pedos, no creeps. Devastator get that. Why can't the rest of us?
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming.
It
was wonderful. We've had a real journey through time and space.
I know. This was. I feel like I've just conducted open surgery in front of you.
Thank you for showing us your entrails. All right. Thanks for listening. Feel free to like and subscribe. And from me, Floyd, and Callum, we're out.
Until next time.
Cheers.